But we're going to load up the EU finals, get the deck lists for that. Is this as immediate as I think it is? Okay. I'm just trying to line up the video so that we can get straight into it. But first, pull up the deck lists. Take a look at that. See what we would have banned instead. You don't need to see me. So, Pink Beaver out of the tournament. So we've got that, and then MayCactus. MayCactus brought Championless Undying, Karmaheimer, and Draven Yetis. Yeah, let me all caps this. Draven Yeti. Undying Demacia and Karmaheimer. So, obviously this isn't quite standard. Draven Yetis, something that we've seen pop up on ladder a little bit. Seeing it in the finals of the tournament is pretty cool. It's one of those things where it's like, it feels a lot like indoor spiders, and what I mean by that is, so when Indoor Spiders kind of came to be a deck, it was off the back of a combination of buffs. It was the buff to Brood Awakening, but the main thing that got everyone talking about it was the buff to Iceborne Legacy. And they were like, oh, this is really cool. I get to, like, you know, play my spiders and then make 3/3 spiders, and it's slow instead of burst, and it's really cool. And then Iceborne Legacy slowly got cut from the deck. And suddenly you had this deck that was still very good, and I think Brood Awakening is a big part of it, but I definitely think Iceborne Legacy is like kind of what put the deck in people's minds to begin with. The Draven Yeti deck is kind of similar because this Avarosan Trapper buff, like it's a 3/3 instead of a 2/2, that really doesn't fundamentally change much about the deck, but it got the deck on people's minds. They kind of got to screw around with it a bit more, and now we have people playing Yetis in the finals of tournaments. I don't know, like obviously the Avarosan Trapper is going to be a mainstay in the deck. You kind of just like need the Yetis, but I had seen a couple of Yetis prior to the buffs, even before they were announced. Like, it's a deck that I've seen a couple of times. Obviously the lists are a little unrefined, and now that you've got more and more people playing with it, you can get a more refined list. I don't think this is anywhere near the finalized version that we're going to see this deck kind of settle on. I don't even know that Draven's necessarily going to be the champion, and that's something I wanted to talk about as well. I don't know that Draven seems a little weird to me as the champion. There's not any like obvious discard targets that I want to be playing. I mean, Whirling Death is cool. I don't think you're really playing Draven to get more copies of Whirling Death, and the fact that you're playing Shunpo, because generally when I see Yetis, I'm pretty sure it's like Ash Katarina. And I think I like Katarina as a Yeti champion more. It's a little strange to me that MayCactus was running just Draven and not Draven Katarina. Obviously, though, like this isn't a deck that I have a lot of experience with, so I could just be like really ignorant here and not understanding why Katarina is not good in this deck. I also just think Katarina is better than a lot of people are giving her credit for, even in the Yasuo decks. Like, I'll get into that later, though. The point is, I think Katarina is, like, good. The buff on her felt pretty incidental, but I definitely don't think there's been a scenario where I played Katarina and the Blade's Edge didn't, like, come in pretty clutch. So it seemed like kind of a weird buff to me, but it's been, like, in practice, it's been working out very well. So anyway, I would have liked to see Katarina instead of Draven. The Draven just seems weird to me, but like I said, I probably just don't understand it. Maybe when I see the deck in action, I'll get a little bit of a better understanding of why Draven was the champion here. But back into the bans. So Pearson, if I'm running Bannerman, Draven Darius, and Indoor Spiders, looking at Draven Yeti, Undying Demacia, Karmaheimer, I think we'll look at MayCactus, what MayCactus wants to ban first, because if I'm Pearson, I have to think about what is getting banned from me in order to kind of figure out what to ban in this lineup. So Undying Demacia, is it, there's no Judgment or anything like that. It's got Ruination, though. There's no life gain, right? It plays Ancient Crocolith. It's Tiana Crown Guard. No, only one Ravenous Butcher. Okay. Warden's Prey. This is a pretty interesting lineup from MayCactus. One Purify. Yeah, so the thing that I'm trying to figure out right off the bat is, does my burn deck beat this? Does my Draven Darius beat this championless Undying? I feel like the answer might be no. It very well could be no. And I know my Bannerman certainly doesn't beat this. You know, Purify, Ruination, just all this nonsense. I really can't keep up with the Undyings. The Undying very good against like the board-centric decks. It can be a little, like you can get out aggroed in the early game, but like this Ancient Crocolith is actually kind of terrifying in terms of my Bannerman matchup, because a 7/7, especially a 4-mana 7/7, nearly impossible for the Bannerman decks to deal with. Like it has to be riposte onto an already high attack target, and then my opponent has things that they can do to play around that, which means I'm not dealing with this until like turn 6, because I would need to play like a Swiftwing Lancer and then, you know, riposte it to deal with something like this. So Karma Heim, I'm not going to lie, it's been so long since I played a Heimerdinger deck. We generally see these fall to the wayside in favor of Ezreal decks, that I'm actually not sure how the Bannerman matchup is into the Heimerdinger deck. So just pulling back up the base lineups, looking at this, Draven Darius definitely beats Karma Heim. It's like this is generally weak to aggro. So I kind of check some boxes there. I don't think Bannerman beats this, to be honest. I think it's just a little bit too easy to protect the Heimerdinger. Are there Steel Tempests? There aren't Steel Tempests, but there's still, you know, like Get Excited, Twin Discipline, Spirit, 3 Spirits Refuge, Will of Ionia. So it's probably too hard to kill the Heimerdinger, and then obviously all the free turrets are going to just destroy my board. So Bannerman doesn't beat that. So assuming Bannerman doesn't beat Karma Heim, Draven Darius does beat Karma Heim. Does Endure Spiders beat Karma Heim? I feel like the answer is a hard no, because it's, well, not a hard no. Endure Spiders can start very aggressively. It's got to be like a Brood Awakening Elise kind of stuff. But in the face of P and Z removal, it's kind of rough. Endure Spiders gets okay value against Ezreal because there's not a lot of... What am I saying? The point I'm trying to make here is that I don't think Endure Spiders necessarily beats Karma Heimer. But what about the Undying Demacia? Endure Spiders should beat that. I have so many spiders to block out your guys. Draven Darius, I think, beats it. There's enough burn, right? You don't get to start off aggressively enough. And Bannerman. I think I would ban the Karma Heimer if I'm Pearson. I'm not super sold on that decision. I'm kind of making it on the fly, but I think if I was Pearson, I would ban the Karma Heim. And then if I MayCactus, assuming my Karma Heim is going to get banned, I have to play Undying and Draven. Do I ban Endure Spiders or Draven Darius? I definitely leave Bannerman. I'm pretty sure I just destroy this Bannerman deck. There's so many matchups that I'm like unfamiliar with here. Like you can only practice and play so much Legends of Runeterra. You can't like have experience in every matchup without like dedicated testing partners. So like I think I would ban the Endure Spiders. Just because like I'm so scared of that deck. Maybe that's incorrect, but personally I'm a little scared of Endure Spiders. And it doesn't I feel like it doesn't really matter what I ban, because if my Karma Heim gets banned, I just destroy this Bannerman deck twice. And that's one of the things about tournaments is like if you're playing a best of 3 conquest style where it's like I just need to win with both of my decks once, it doesn't really matter which of these I ban as long as I leave the Bannerman open. And because I have 3 decks that destroy Bannerman and my opponent brought Bannerman, I'm feeling pretty confident in anything that I do here. I don't think my ban matters nearly as much as Pearson's ban, but I would, if I was MayCactus, I would probably ban the Endure Spiders, and then I can even lose to Draven Darius. I don't know that I do, but like I can, and then I just obliterate this Bannerman deck 3 times over. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is if I was Pearson, I would ban Karma Heim. If I was MayCactus, I would ban Endure Spiders. But now we can get into the action and see how things actually played out. And I think we're spectating MayCactus. That is going to be the case. Going to get started off with the Draven Ezreal, or not Draven Ezreal, the Draven Yetis. But yeah, like I was saying, I don't think MayCactus's ban matters too much because you just obliterate this Bannerman deck. Unless MayCactus banned Bannerman, that would be weird to me. But I don't hate banning the Darius Draven over the Indoor Spiders. Because like I said, you can take a loss to this deck, and it doesn't impact the outcome of the match at all as long as you can body the Bannerman deck as hard as I think you do. I can't even really like speak on the mulligan because I've no frame of reference for like what you're looking for. Opening the Yeti, Ancient Yeti, I know that's good. It's something that you want to sit in your hand for a bit. Yeti Yearling, also a good top deck. Like there's just a lot of Yetis coming out already. All right, I'm glad that they opened the Draven because I'm kind of curious as to what place the Draven has in this deck, and I'm kind of hoping that this is going to tell me. So yeah, 2 damage coming in, that's like nothing. I don't think you play Draven over the Avarosan Trapper here. I think you want to draw a Yeti, because like if you top deck the Yeti, then you can play Draven Yeti next turn, and if you don't, I might even just want to get down this Yeti, because it'll be a 4-cost next turn. That's the other thing, like I'm not sure when I want to curve into this Yeti versus like playing it for free at a later date. It's got Overwhelm, which I very much value against Indoor Spiders. Draven can get Overwhelm. This Shunpo gonna come in big, and that's one of the things that really surprised me is like you're running Shunpo, which says you want rally effects, but you're not running Katarina. And I understand, obviously, like they're very different cards. Katarina is a much bigger investment in terms of mana and things like that. You have to like set up into it because you have to attack with it first. So like you leave it a little vulnerable. Shunpo is definitely like the safer rally card. And MayCactus is only running one of it, so she's probably fine just like taking the one rally effect. Like if it happens, it happens. If not, you know, it doesn't. You're not like trying to all in on the rally effect by playing multiple Katarinas or something like that. And she got the Yeti off the top of the deck from the Avarosan Trapper, but just passes. That's a little strange to me. Could get floated for a lot of mana here. I definitely think I would want to set up a much stronger board before the Ruination turn comes out. And maybe I would just get stonewalled by a Brood Awakening into a Ruination. But I believe there's only one Ruination in this. I gotta stop doing this. Okay, there's 2 Ruination in the Indoor Spider deck. But I definitely would have liked to see either this Yeti or this Yeti and Draven last turn, which lets me play the Hearthguard this turn. I'm not... Maybe they were just trying... Maybe MayCactus was just hoping Pearson would go for an open Brood Awakening. But if I'm trying to set up... If I'm trying to like set myself up into the best position going into the Ruination turn, I definitely think getting down Overwhelm Yeti would have been a really good start to that. And then I can play this out. So even if I'm getting... It also would have set up for a much better Shunpo. Ooh, actually I think I like that. So if you had gone Yeti Draven last turn, then you could go Overwhelm Yeti Shunpo this turn. It's kind of hard to go back on that because Pearson's board would likely look a little bit different as well. But I think that's what I would have liked to see line up. I can't talk too much on how it would have played out because, as I said, I'm pretty sure Pearson's board would be a little more full than just the 1/1 spider. But yeah, definitely would have liked to see this last turn into this and a potential Shunpo. All right, there's the defensive Skitterer. Do you just avalanche this? No, it just makes your Draven Vial feastable. I just like saw the avalanche highlighted. Yeah, Draven's obviously a really safe attack. Not wanting to sort of soften up the Yeti in any capacity. Because you can just avalanche through this if you're trying to like go for Yeti value later. Alright, gonna be a block and a glimpse beyond. That's gonna deny the spinning axe. Yeah, I feel like getting the Shunpo, like this is probably the best Shunpo turn that you could have had, is turn 5, because it's right before the Ruination turn. You had a really strong setup on 4, and you even still could have gotten down a very powerful unit on 5. I don't know why Epic Pen's acting up. Now the Brood Awakening comes out. Is that anything? You don't... Yeah, you could Avalanche that. Because you could Avalanche and Hearthguard. Your opponent doesn't have a great follow-up. It's worth noting that you do need an enemy unit to Shunpo. But that means even last turn, like when you go to attack, you could Shunpo the blocker, just so that, you know, you get it out of there. Get the rally off. So I like the Avalanche here. Opens up Draven to a Vile Feast, but I'm not particularly concerned about the Draven at this point. I really just want to like stop all that damage. Yeah, Vile Feast on the Draven is fine. Probably get down the Hearthguard here. Could also get down Yeti and the Overwhelm Yeti. But I don't think my opponent's playing another unit, so getting the Overwhelm doesn't really matter because they're going to block this Yeti with it, I would assume. I don't think the spell mana is particularly important either. Because if I want to, I have mana to play out both my units and the Shunpo on 7. So yeah, I like that. My opponent doesn't get to attack. My life total stays healthy. I'm pretty much just saving this flash freeze for They Who Endure. Okay, gonna get a big Yeti. Yeah, Ruination's on the table, so I like the open attack. You're probably going to push through at least 5 damage. It's possible this gets Grasp of the Undying, but then your opponent's pretty low. The concern is that you're also relatively low on resources in terms of, like, potentially getting blown out by a Ruination. I think this is a completely different... turn 4 so far is the only, like, potential red flag. Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a scary matchup for the Yetis. Your opponent just has, like... You have so... Like, big 5/5s don't really matter in the face of, like... The fact that you play out 3 5/5s and I just play a Brood Awakening. You only have Avalanche to stop that. There's not a lot of Overwhelm in the deck. Like, it's... Obviously, you have the big Yeti. You have 1 Kato the Arm. There's no actual copies of Overwhelm. And, like, there's a lot of dead top decks, potentially, for MayCactus. There's 3 Elixir of Iron, 3 Culling Strike. Tall Tales is not a dead top deck. Let's not... Reckoning's a dead top deck. Trifarian Assessor has to come out soon-ish. Trifarian Assessor can just blow the game open, though. Yeah, like, if you run out, like, an Enraged Yeti here, or an Overwhelm Yeti... I think I like saving Overwhelm Yeti until my attack turn. I think I would have rather played the bigger 6/6 Yeti. So my opponent's on 8 mana. I have no frame of reference of how big this They Who Endure is going to be. But you have Flash Freeze on it. It's almost certainly not big enough to kill you. If your opponent does something goofy here, though, maybe the Overwhelm Yeti is to try and set up for Shunpo better, but you have the mana to play... Like, if your opponent Brood Awakenings or something, then you can still play Overwhelm Yeti and Shunpo. If that's, like, you know, how you want to play this. I don't necessarily know that this is a great Shunpo, though. Like, you're really just clearing your opponent's board of 1/1s, but you could just block them to do that as well. And there's not really much to be taken advantage of here. In terms of, like, sure, your opponent's low on mana, they can't Ruination you, but if you just, like, run out this Yeti and Shunpo, you're only pushing through with 1 attack, which is going to be the Overwhelm Yeti, because they're going to block, they're going to have a Spider and a Spider. Even if you play, like, this 5/5 Yeti, then, like, these just line up onto these. You push through the 5. Your opponent goes to 10. And then they Ruination you, and your whole hand is gobbled up, and you lose the game. So I don't think I want to Shunpo here. I think I'd rather just, like, block these. Or attack with them, like, attack next turn, see if I can get my opponent to, like... It's kind of weird, because this is, like, the one time that your opponent is low on mana. But there's not really a punish, which is why your opponent is low on mana. Like, if you Shunpo, you've pushed 5 damage. And maybe that's as much value as you ever get out of Shunpo. And it's kind of scary for your opponent to Ruination on their turn, because you could just set up a board in response. The problem is that you only have 3 cards in hand if you do that. Maybe you just don't run out the Yeti. Maybe you just Shunpo, save the Yeti. You're still pushing damage because you have Overwhelm. So you push 4 damage. You hang on to the Yeti. If your opponent Ruinations on their turn, then you play your 5/5 Yeti. Yeah, Yeti Yearling's, like, fine. You're pushing 5 damage again. I just feel like this is, like, it's probably the most value you're going to get out of Shunpo. But I don't know that it's, like, it can be rough. Because I feel like that is the most value you're going to get out of Shunpo at this point. It's, like, Ruinations offline. You've been playing around it pretty effectively all game. You're a little worried at this point because... if your opponent actually naked jams a Ruination, the punish is that you set up a board and then open attack. But you don't actually have the punish. Your board's pretty weak. It's a Yeti and a Trifarian Assessor, which ain't nothing. Nothing dies to Vile Feast, nothing dies to Withering Wail. But it's not a lot. And then your 2 other cards, Flash Freeze and Shunpo, just, like, depend on you having a board. So I kind of like taking some... I guess I want to say, like, questionable blocks on this attack. And trying to bait my opponent into a Withering Wail. So if I block... if I, like, block this... block this... block this... I don't think I want to open this up to Grasp. That's fine, too. I don't mind this. 4 damage is, like, pretty irrelevant. So 2-1... okay, so just gonna kill the Yeti, then. That's fine. Your opponent's not gonna, like, your opponent's not set up for Withering Wail, so, like, you can't go for a Shunpo. But if, like, you soften up your board too much, then your Shunpo's not gonna get value anyway. So MayCactus doing a good job of walking the line here. This line. That was probably the straightest line I've ever drawn with this tool. Okay, so a couple Yeti's gonna go into the deck. I don't think you run out a unit here. You've been playing around Ruination this long. Like, maybe you just jam everything. You just shove your hand down. You say you don't have Ruination. You just clap them. Ooh, but if your opponent does something... right, Shunpo's slow, not fast. Oh, Shunpo's slow, not fast. Okay, that kind of changes the Shunpo turn I talked about a little bit previously. Only a little bit, but... because I wanted to, like, attack Shunpo the blocker and then attack again, but you just... yeah, I guess that actually doesn't work. Because you can't, like, attack, they block, and then your opponent needs to have something for you to Shunpo. Your opponent has to have a unit for you to target to Shunpo. So throw everything I was saying out the window before, because this is slow. So if you've been watching this VOD on YouTube, and then you get to this point, now you don't have to type in the comment section that Shunpo is slow. I figured it out. A little bit late, but I figured it out. Glory Seeker, okay. An Assessor top deck draws 6, and I would love that. You have to Shunpo here, right? The only thing they have mana left for is Brood Awakening and Withering Wail. Withering Wail sucks a little bit. Not a lot. It takes out your Overwhelm Yeti. You don't even have to challenge the 1/1 though, because this is a lot of damage. So yeah, I really like this Shunpo. If your opponent like Glimpse Beyonds, I'm pretty sure you still get the rally effect. Okay, gonna be Vile Feast onto that. That's fine. Gonna give him another blocker. So you challenge a spider. Well, you don't have to challenge a spider. They're blocking this anyway, right? Because they're setting up for Withering Wail. You're pushing through 16. It really sucks if your opponent has another Vile Feast. Oh, okay. Okay. So as much as you want to save this Flash Freeze for They Who Endure, it doesn't actually deal with it. Like, because your opponent doesn't just play They Who Endure and then Atrocity you immediately. They play They Who Endure and they fucking attack with it. And they keep attacking with it until you answer it, and then they Atrocity you. So I really like this Flash Freeze here, because you're definitely predicting a Withering Wail, right? Like, that's kind of where we're at. Your opponent could still have Ruination, but you can't play around Ruination at this point. You're kind of all in on that. So the only thing you can play around is Withering Wail, so I like this a lot to play around the Withering Wail. Puts your opponent down to 3. You still have a big board. Draw a Trifarian Assessor. Make my day. No, Everosin Trapper. Then just open attack. I forgot that it was their turn, so yeah, I got mixed around with the attack token and I always get mixed around with the attack token and rally effects and things like that. Okay, so Withering Wail and Grasp of the Undying still kills you, so beautifully played by MayCactus. Definitely liked the Flash Freeze there. The one still questionable about turn 4. That was a huge quality dip there. Yeah, the turn 4 where she went for the open pass instead of, because she had 2 spell mana banked anyway, so like the pass on 4 only gave her 1 spell mana. But generally, Karmaheim gets banned out. PNZ and Ionia are just like 2 of the scariest regions right now. So when you see, like, some people are like, okay, like, you know, Draven Ezreal or Karma Ezreal, Jesus. Karma Ezreal is something I can deal with because, you know, I brought a lineup that doesn't like play a lot of units. I can kind of stake it out in the late game, but like Heimer's a much more proactive version of an Ezreal deck, and that can really get people if they come prepared for the Ezreal, because Ezreal is very reactive. It's impossible to be like aggressive with Ezreal because I can't, if you don't play units, I can't do anything, right? Unless I draw like this or this, but MayCactus open kind of nutty. So Chempunk Pickpocket, it's best to play Chempunk Pickpocket like it's a vanilla 3-2. You definitely never want to overcommit to protecting it in any capacity. That's from the stream, not my stream. That's not me, is what I'm trying to say. Because this was done by like spectating a player's stream. So you always throw that at the Elise. You could get greedy and throw it at the 1/1, but I think I like just getting the Elise off board. The early aggression is really the only way this deck's going to beat you. You have Denies and Will of Ionia's galore, and you even open 2 of them, so you never really have to worry about They Who Endure killing you, because if you can get down Heimer, then you're going to just kind of run away with the game anyway. You're going to put on enough pressure that like They Who Endure doesn't get a chance to like attack and then Atrocity you, and then you want this to come down, so you want to, you know, block that off anyway. A Naked Glimpse Beyond means a really weak hand. MayCactus apparently unhappy about not being able to Mystic Shot that. I think, like, obviously you're not going to, like, Mystic Shot it and play this and try and go for that. So, like, you know, your opponent does it because they have the opportunity to, so. Didn't have a blocker for the 4-3 anyway. Might as well get that down while you can. Because it's unlike an Ezreal deck. Like, against the Ezreal decks, you want to save Glimpse Beyond to prevent the Ezreal targeting and things like that, whereas here your opponent's not going to proactively remove your units to tick up their Ezreal, so they get to reactionarily destroy your Glimpse Beyonds. So I definitely like taking a more proactive approach on Glimpse Beyonding in this matchup. Yeah, Mystic Shot onto the 2/2 I don't hate. You're not floating 3 mana into the Heimer turn, but that doesn't matter these days anyway. You don't want to play Heimer on 3 spell mana. Like, you don't want to play Heimer on 5 anymore. You want to play Heimer on 6 so that you have the deny backup. If you have Twin Disciplines, sure, you can still go for a Heimer on 5. But for the most part, I don't hate not floating spell mana into turn 5 because you're not really doing anything on turn 5 anyway. The only other turn 5 play you have in the deck is, like, play Karma. And playing Karma and having that work out is like fine to delay the Heimer turn by another because you're gonna get 2 spells over the meantime, but like it has to be a relatively safe Karma. You don't want to just like naked jam Karma on 5, have it die, and then you can't Heimer on 6 anyway because your opponent's playing a deck that has so much removal that your Karma was definitely going to die, and now you can't play Heimer. And having the deny, I definitely think you would always want to float spell mana into this turn. But Solitary Monk kind of taking over the game, as she sometimes does. Yeah, Frenzied Skitter. I definitely hate staring down Solitary Monk when I'm playing a deck like this that has so many chump blockers that just don't get any value here. With only 4 mana left, though, you can play the Heimer here. You're shy of Grasp of the Undying. It's not PNZ, so you don't have to worry about Thermo Beam, Will of Ionia, anything like that. You would jam it into a Will of Ionia anyway, but... Flash of Brilliance number 2. That's a lot of elusives. It's been a while since I've actually seen like a Heimerdinger deck. I don't even see them on ladder very often, but it looks like MayCactus just gonna prove me wrong on the Indoor Spiders beating out the lineup. I thought she was just gonna pick on the Bannerman, but instead it looks like she's just gonna 2-0 this Spiders deck. Of course, having Heimer on 5 with 2 Elixir of Brilliance doesn't hurt. You still have the backup mana for this Will of Ionia or Deny, whichever one you want. Unlicensed Innovation is like whatever. This is never gonna get played. You're just gonna win the game with elusives here. Your life total is so high. You don't really, like, you're not worried about They Who Endure or Atrocity or anything like that. You just get to play reactively at this point because you have the proactive eggs to crack into your 3/1s. Surprised Pearson didn't attack. I wonder what he's waiting for. Could have Withering Wail. No, this is weird to me because you need to race. Because you don't outrace elusives. Like, you have to attack into them and put pressure on their life total so that they have to block with the elusives. This pass here is really weird to me. Like, your opponent has a lot of mana, but what are you afraid of them actually doing? You attacking doesn't, like, change anything. So that was kind of weird on my end of things, of, like, not attacking. Because, like, if you trade in all the elusives, like, that's good for you. You're a deck that wants to, like, you know, all my guys die, I play a They Who Endure. Sure, you know, it's not very good versus Ionia, but then you probably should have banned your opponent's Ionia deck. Dawn and Dusk, that's... I mean, if you want to go for the win, you can Dawn and Dusk the 3/1. You can't Dawn and Dusk this. For the love of God, don't Dawn and Dusk this. It sets you up for Withering Wail, but you have Deny. Your opponent could have double Withering Wail. But I think it's okay to slow roll it, but you're not really doing anything else this turn, right? And upgrades the Heimer. The hover there spooked me. Yeah, I definitely don't hate this. Because if you're getting double Withering Wailed, you might as well only lose the double Withering Wail. Or it's like here, if you attack and they Withering Wail and you deny, like, you're not winning the game. And like, you're not losing anything for this. You're upgrading the Heimer. You're getting a 6 or a 7/2 turret with Overwhelm. And a 7/2 is actually a little bit difficult to deal with. There's a lot of, like, 1 damage things in this deck. Obviously, like, there's Grasp of the Undying, but... yeah, the position swapping's weird. Of course, your opponent could just go for, like, the Withering Wail now to prevent this even happening. Or, like, even Vile Feast, but... like, I don't hate running out the card just because you're probably never going to play it anyway. Maybe Unlicensed Innovation was better. But this Unlicensed Innovation doesn't have a chance to end the game. This does have a chance to end the game. So there's the Heimer upgrade, which I think pops out a 7/2 turret then, since these came down. Hello? Heimer? 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 Where's the turret? Heimer, where's the turret? The only thing I can think of is that it's a bug where, because the units came out at the same time as Heimer upgrading, Heimer just kind of like brain farted and forgot to make a turret. He was so happy about evolving. Oh well, obviously it's a bug. I'm not gonna like sit here and talk about it for 5 minutes. We can all see what happened. Hopefully because it happened in the finals of a tournament, there's at least enough attention that it'll get fixed next patch. All right, well, now your opponent doesn't have double Withering Wail, which means you probably just win with this deny, right? Just Withering Wail number 1, and then Vile Feast doesn't save you. No, Vile Feast does save you, because it puts you at 14, and you don't get this. Okay, no, that's going to be it. All right, yeah, sure, cool. MayCactus can take that one pretty decisively. Karma Heimerdinger doing Karma Heimerdinger things. It's still a very good deck. I like the more proactive approach than the Karma Ezreal that we see a lot of people play. So now we're going to move into the NA top 8. First up.